eyelids. This is important because the eyelids are much darker than the rest of them. Same for the hair, the eyebrows, the mustache, the facial hair and all that. But I will really say that you should start from the eyelids, marking them, because the eyes and the nose is what refines and represents the whole form. And again, I don't really focus on one part of the face because what we want is that the overall reference should be consistent. Like, you should work on the torso, on the eyes, the hair, everything, not just full on the nose, because you will have, I mean, hyper realistic artists don't have a problem with that, but when you are using two mediums, it will be hard next to refine it. So my point is that keep things tight and not too much overworked. So I haven't really refined yet the head, mostly the hair around, so I am just using my pencil to mark the darks of the over charcoal. And this technique, what I do is similar to the way I hold my pencil, is called the overhand technique. So I just use my index finger on the lid and I gently press my lead pencil down, and it's similar to hatching method, but I just use over just vertical lines, and this is much more fluid approach to my works. Like, it works like a sculpture, if you know what I mean. It's like one form, there isn't too much texture, so I wouldn't recommend you doing cross hatching yet. Just use vertical lines first, and when you are done and when you are confident that you have achieved the facial construction, then you can do that at the end after you are done with charcoal. At this point, I begin to hatch over the highlights of the face and the hair, because I am using layers to add some darks. But be careful with it, because when you use your finger you might mess up the values, so do only so when you are confident that the graphite you are using is not really dark, because when you are smudging over dark, you might end up doing it much more dark than it already is. So make sure you are using a light pencil like 2B or B, like I said before, and do just that. Like, don't lift your finger on the paper, and keep doing it until there aren't too much white. This work is going back and forth. I am going back and forth because this is whatever whatever artist should do. And now you see I'm using the hatches on the face because I am done with the right cheek of the face, which is going to be much darker later. We're going to blend the nose to give it a realistic three-dimensional form, and the same for the eyes and the lips. But what I see here is we have a lot of work on the hair and the darks of the hair. They are much complex. So with the graphite, I want just to mark the dark which letter we are going to. This is when I use graphite over charcoal is only to bring some shiny texture which makes it look gray, and I don't want you to focus on that at all. This is me trying to correct lots of like 3-4 mistakes I made on the eye and the cheek. When you want to, this is not really dark at all. Everything that you see here is not dark, it's just the camera. If you want to really use a dark charcoal, I do not recommend Conde. You will have to use, well, this is more complex approach, but you have to use compressed charcoal. You can either do these two things. You can sharpen the compressed charcoal. What made this stand out is the three-dimensional form of the nose, and the eye had become consistent with the other one. It all plays together, and the bottom limbs has become much more darker, and the skin has become subtly darker, but not overly dark. So I will continue going like this until to the point that I feel satisfied, because this is what it is about, to be satisfied with your work. You can see I mostly work with this pencil because I have much more control over everything else. And you should not worry about the paper type. The paper type I use is a common paper type. Like what I use, this one is dull round paper, cartridge paper, like a common sketchbook. But you should though consider your paper to be smooth. So every time I post something like this on this size scale, it's this brand of paper which I'm using. And you should not bring a lot of detail on the background yet. I mean, if you want to, but it's not really important compared to the model. And this is what it looks like.